In the little town of Azima, there lived a young man named Abuchi. Abuchi was known for his kindness, his sharp mind, and his endless dreams. But there was something else Abuchi was known for. His fear. He feared failure, he feared rejection, and above all, he feared speaking before people. That single fear kept him from opportunities bigger than he could imagine. Abuchi longed to be a leader. To inspire others. To stand tall and use his voice. But whenever he tried to speak in front of people, his heart raced. His voice trembled, and his legs shook. So he always sat quietly in the shadows, letting others shine while his own dreams gathered dust. One bright morning, the great gong of Azima echoed through the air, summoning everyone to the village square. Men left their farms. Women paused their trading, and children gathered with curiosity. The elders sat in their circle, their flowing wrappers marking their authority. The eldest among them, Pa Okafor, rose slowly, leaning on his staff. His voice carried strength. Our community needs fresh ideas, new visions. We are calling on the youth. Let the one with the brightest idea to improve Azima come forward. The winner will receive not only funding but the honor of leading the youth council. A murmur spread through the crowd. Excitement danced in the eyes of many young men and women. Abuchi stood among them, his heart pounding like a talking drum. His mind overflowed with ideas: clean water projects, farming cooperatives, youth education programs, things that could truly transform Azima. For a moment, his chest swelled with courage. But then, the shadow of fear crept in. A whisper in his ear. What if you fail? What if they laugh at you in front of everyone? What if you stumble over your words and make a fool of yourself? Abuchi swallowed hard, torn between the fire of his dreams and the chains of his fear. That night, sleep abandoned Abuchi. He tossed and turned on his raffia mat, staring at the ceiling as shadows from the flickering lantern danced across the walls. His heart was heavy, his mind replaying the announcement again and again. He thought of his late father, the man who once stood tall in the same square where the elders now gathered. He could almost hear his father's deep, reassuring voice. Son, fear is like a shadow. It cannot touch you, it only frightens you if you run. Abuchi sat up, his breath uneven. He looked down at his hands, shaking, clammy with sweat. Fear was alive inside him, choking his courage. Slowly, he clenched his fists, forcing them to steady. He rose from his mat, walked to the small window, and gazed at the quiet village under the moonlight. With a trembling voice, he whispered to himself, "Do the thing you mostly fear. And the death of fear is certain." For the first time in his life, Abuchi felt a spark, small but steady, pushing him not to run. That night, he made a silent promise. Tomorrow, he would face his fear, no matter how loudly it roared. The long-awaited day of the competition arrived. The village square was alive with energy. Drummers beat softly in the background. Market women whispered as they balanced trays on their heads, and children perched on stones, eager to see who would shine. When Abuchi's name was called, his stomach tightened. His legs felt like they were made of lead as he walked to the center. Standing before the elders and the crowd, he could feel hundreds of eyes piercing through him. His palms were damp, his knees shook, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. For a brief moment, the thought of running away returned, stronger than ever. But then, his father's words rose in his mind like a guiding voice, reminding him that the only way to silence fear was to confront it head-on. Abuchi drew in a shaky breath, opened his mouth, and forced out the first sentence. His voice cracked, thin and unsure. A few people tilted their heads, curious. Others exchanged puzzled glances. His heart pounded, urging him to stop. Yet he pressed on. Each word grew steadier than the last. His tone deepened, his shoulders straightened, and his eyes lifted from the ground to meet the faces before him. Soon, passion poured out like a river breaking its banks. He spoke of clean water flowing into every home, of young men and women finding pride in new skills, of farms yielding enough to feed every family. The more he spoke, the less he felt the tremor of fear. The boy who once shook in silence now painted visions of a brighter Azima with every word. By the time he finished, Abuchi was no longer trembling, he was standing tall, his voice alive with power, his presence commanding the attention of all who listened. When Abuchi spoke his final words, a heavy silence washed over the square. For a heartbeat, it felt as though time itself had stopped. The market women who had been whispering were now frozen. The drummers' hands hovered above their drums, and even the restless children sat still, eyes wide. Then suddenly, applause burst forth like thunder rolling across the hills. Hands clapped, feet stamped, and voices shouted his name. The sound grew louder, filling every corner of the square. The same villagers who once overlooked the quiet boy now rose to their feet, cheering him with pride. The elders exchanged glances of astonishment. One after another, they nodded, their eyes shining with respect. Finally, Pa Okafor stood, his staff raised high. "This young man has spoken with the heart of a true leader," he declared. Abuchi felt his chest tighten, not with fear, but with a deep, overwhelming joy. For years, he had hidden in the shadows of doubt, but today, he stood in the light. His idea was chosen as the best, and with it, he was entrusted with the leadership of the youth council. And as he looked at the crowd, at the smiles, the admiration, the hope in their eyes, Abuchi understood a powerful truth. Fear had not disappeared before he acted. It had walked with him, trembling in his chest. But courage had led the way. And because he acted despite his fear, he was free. From that day onward, Abuchi's life was never the same. The boy who once trembled in silence now walked with confidence, his voice carrying weight wherever he spoke. He had discovered a truth carved deep into his heart. That fear does not vanish when you wait or hide. Fear dies only when you confront it, when you take that trembling step forward. He realized that courage was not the absence of fear, but the strength to move through it. And in walking straight into the thing he dreaded most, Abuchi found freedom, purpose, and a destiny larger than his doubts. And perhaps the same is true for you. The very thing you are most afraid of might not be your enemy, but your gateway, the doorway that leads you toward the life you were meant to live. And so, Abuchi's journey reminds us that courage is born the very moment we face what frightens us most. Thank you for staying with me till the end. This is Geraldinho Stories, where every tale carries a spark of wisdom. Until we meet again, stay inspired, stay courageous.